Let's rage against the machine. Topple the mainstream establishment consensus. And by the establishment, I of course mean randos from internet comment sections who live rent-free in my head because I insist on inflicting this kind of psychic damage on myself on a daily basis by reading the deluded ramblings of half-comatose internet zombies. That is, people who disagree with my opinions about movies. The worst crime imaginable. So I just did a quick experiment. Threw together a list of every movie I've rated 4.5 or 5 stars on Letterboxd, sorted by average rating, and wouldn't you know, I saw the TV Glow has the lowest average out of all 60 or so of these movies. Right under a bunch of films that are themselves rated a little low for my liking. I've seen people complain about Jaws only being a 3.9, but Audition being a 3.8 and Battle Royale being a 3.9 is a far greater crime, to be honest, because those are both vastly better films than Jaws. So am I just here to quibble with Letterboxd averages of my favourite films? Not exactly, although I will quibble with them if given the opportunity, but it does speak to the polarized responses some of these films have received. I saw the TV Glow is sitting at about a 3.5 star average, which is just way too low. It's definitely the result of the fact that this film is Marmite for audiences. You'll either love it or hate it. And that's why I'm making this video. See, I saw the TV Glow's haters leave some pretty vitriolic and honestly dense comments whenever the film is mentioned anywhere online, and I'm just getting sick of reading them every time someone makes an Instagram post about this film. And if the comment sections on social media pages mentioning this film are anything to go by, and just how insipid the critiques are, this film's biggest haters genuinely just didn't understand the film. So, just for fun, let's go through why their criticisms of this movie are garbage. We're going to review the reviewers and give the reviewers 1 star out of 5 for effort or lack thereof. For anyone who doesn't know and is for some reason still watching, I Saw the TV Glow is a movie from 2024 about two lonely teenagers in the 90s who bond over their love of weird late-night TV series. But as the film goes on, they start to think that the show might actually be the real world, and the world they think they're living in might be an illusion. I am going to spoil I Saw the TV Glow in this video because, well, we can't really talk about the meaning of the film without mentioning the ending, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go watch the movie and come back. Okay, now let's get into some very bad criticisms of this very good movie. Nonsense Criticism 1. Nothing happens in this movie. So why does nothing happen in this film? Well, at the start of the film, Owen discovers this TV series. He starts to think that it might be real. He's told by his friend later in the film that, yes, the show is real, and you need to rediscover that world, because the world you're living in now is a lie. But, well, he just doesn't listen. He ignores that call to adventure. Imagine if the main character in The Matrix never realized that The Matrix was an illusion, or rather, if the main character in The Matrix was repeatedly told that it was an illusion, but simply refused to believe them and refused to believe any of the clues that this world is a lie, that it's fake. There would be no story. It would be a film where nothing happens. And indeed, in this film, Owen is given many clues that the reality he's living in is a lie, that the TV show is actually the truth. But the older he gets, the further away he gets from ever accessing that magic again, the more stuck he is inside the delusion. So yes, nothing happens. There is no great earth-shattering realization, no moment where suddenly everything changes. It would be the easiest thing in the world to just say, that's the point. But yes, that is the point. It's a film about stagnation. about the consequences of not acting on things you know to be true about yourself. So the first step on the hero's journey is the call to adventure. And, well, if you, as the hero, ignore the call to adventure, then you never become the hero. You never get to live out your own story. The hero is often reluctant to take that call, and they're put in a position where they're forced to go out on that adventure, or they will lose everything. And so it is here. If you refuse the call to adventure, refuse the call to live out your own story, then indeed nothing happens. But there are consequences for that. Consequences to living in denial, which is what this entire movie is about. If you don't like that that's what this film is about, then the argument ends here. But you can't really argue that it's a flaw in the film. That would be like saying Hamlet is bad because it's just 3 hours of a man deciding whether or not to avenge his father's death. It's a banal criticism. The film is about what happens when nothing happens. A psychic wound. Nonsense criticism 2. The pink opaque wasn't deeply explored and was just a plot device. The Pink Opaque, the TV show whose seemingly magical properties are the inciting incident of this film, is not deeply explored because the characters' perceptions of it are shaped by their memories of it. It's an idealized, distant memory from their teenage years that's heavily filtered through nostalgia. So of course they don't remember every single detail about it, and in fact they can't deeply explore it because they no longer have access to that world. Nonsense criticism 3. Justice Smith's performance is bad. Justice Smith does a fantastic job of being someone who moves through the world constantly afraid of being hurt by it. Eyes down, almost not wanting to be perceived, shrinking body language, constantly putting enormous effort into suppressing his true self. And so the voice and the body language are under constant strain as a result, which some of the haters of this film perceive to be bad acting, but it's actually extremely good acting. The moments where the repressed emotion does come through are just chilling. Nonsense criticism 4. This film gives I'm 14 years old and this is very deep. This has become something of a micro meme surrounding this film, and, well, it's annoying. See, I can't actually prove that a 14-year-old would never think this film is deep. Not that a hypothetical 14-year-old finding something deep inherently means that it is shallow, but considering how many people's lives were literally changed by this movie, how many people literally realized they were trans as a result of watching this, just in the Letterboxd reviews alone, it definitely means something to many, many people older than 14. Still, I suppose it is worth considering what actually makes a film or any piece of art deep. Is it about having many different layers of meaning, about having emotionally or philosophically complex themes? Or is it enough to just have one singular meaning that just happens to resonate with people on a profound and fundamental level? I Saw the TV Glow actually does all of those things. It speaks to something very fundamental about life, the desire to live authentically, and a very fundamental fear, the fear that you never will. You may find it funny or odd that a film about being trans would deeply, deeply resonate with a cis-hetero hedgehog, but a friend of mine pointed out that trans people very often make media about alienation, which is a subject a lot of us know something about nowadays, even if we don't know what it's like to go through gender dysphoria. In the particular is contained the universal, is the way that James Joyce put it. But hey, since we're here, this film does also have many, many layers. Check out this on-screen graphic. The iceberg goes deeper than you think. So at the top layer, we have a film about being trans. If you've seen this film, then I don't think the trans subtext really needs explaining, but let's spend 10 seconds explaining it anyway. In its most basic form, the characters in the TV show The Pink Opaque are the idealized, authentic versions of Owen and Maddie, the ideals that they project themselves onto. If Owen doesn't become his true self as he sees it in the TV show, then his true self continues to exist, but only as a latent possibility, as a piece of hauntology, a possibility that haunts him by continuing to be there as a potential reality. That is reflected by the fact that on the TV show, his counterpart is literally buried alive in the last episode of the series. A suffocated and buried version of his authentic true self, which is what happens when trans people repress their true gender identity. They repress the true version of themselves and continue to live a lie. It isn't subtle, and it doesn't need to be, and that's why it's the top layer of the iceberg. But the film is also about being alienated from other people, living in this atomizing suburban reality of contemporary America. So at the end of the movie, Owen is living on his own in a massive empty house with all of his family gone. And he literally says that his television set is his family now. The line is something like, "I've even got a family of my own." It's just, it's so good, man. This is a deeply isolated and atomized human being, isolated both by the physical architecture of his surroundings and emotionally isolated by the way that he's drifted apart from his friends and from his peers. Even the TV show has lost its power over him, lost its meaning, as a result of how deep his alienation has got. Truly, he is in the midnight realm. But I Saw the TV Glow is also a story about how we relate to stories. Whether or not The Pink Opaque is canonically a show with magical powers, or whether that is just the characters' imaginations, doesn't actually matter. The show has the meaning that the characters give it. So why is the villain of the TV show ultimately a shapeshifted, smashing pumpkinsified version of Owen's homophobic father? Why do the lesbian power couple on the show have telepathic, empathetic abilities? Because that's the meaning that it takes on in Owen's and Maddie's own minds. And that's a powerful realization. Everything you read, watch, play, listen to, you bring a piece of yourself into. There is no pure experience of media, no experience of media that is, well, unmediated. I've noticed that a lot of fans of this film think that I Saw the TV Glow is a miserable film, a depressing, upsetting story that rakes over the characters' regrets of what they should have been, a film so painful that it can only be watched once. And that's totally understandable for a film that deals with sensitive topics like this, about lost time and lost potential. And plus, I'm a weirdo who has watched Old Boy at least 5 times. But paradoxically, I think I Saw the TV Glow is an extremely uplifting and empowering movie at its core. There's absolutely a fear and a horror to knowing that you and you alone are responsible for living life authentically, that nobody else can live that authentic life for you. But there's also a freedom in that. Whatever you might think, there is still time. It's a beautiful message that's delivered in a really beautiful way. And that's why the haters are wrong. Thank you so much for watching. I might make a longer video about this film one day. I mean, I still get chills thinking about certain scenes from this film, but this one really is just me getting annoyed by ignorant comments online about a film I liked. Ironically, this video is not very deep, but the film it's about definitely is very deep, and if you haven't seen it, I can't recommend it enough, really. If you enjoyed this video, or if you think I missed anything, or if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments, because I just really want to see opinions and takes about this film that aren't complete rubbish. And if you want to see more from me, go ahead and like and subscribe. You're the best. Hedgehog out. And by the way, if you're thinking of commenting and telling me that I'm performative, just know I'm actually really bad at feigning enthusiasm. Bye!